Well, my name's Anthony. I'll tell you more about me in a moment, but I'm excited to be doing this. My name is Anthony Poponi. I live in Bend, Oregon. I'll give you a bit about me in a moment, but this is my first time doing a webinar for SDAO and your membership. I am part of the Vendor Solutions Network, so if anything I'm talking about today really resonates with you, I've been kind of pre-approved by SDAO and however they would say that. I love working with the public sector. It's primarily what I do with my work, and resilience is one of the programs that I offer. I was working with transit professionals just yesterday. I'm working with probation professionals next week. So these are the kind of folks that I love working with. So thank you for what you do. All right, so a little bit more about me. I live here in Bend, Oregon. I've been here for 5 years. I absolutely love where I live. I blend my work between doing this type of work, which I would call professional speaking. I speak at conferences and trade shows and those sorts of things. Yes, I am a motivational speaker, and I have been told that I look like Brad Pitt from a distance. Some of you might be laughing. You can laugh along today. I am asking for your permission to have a little bit of fun. I hope you're going to have a little fun while we do this and while we learn some things today. So fine, some of you are saying, not Brad Pitt, not from this distance. And some of you are saying, maybe Brad Pitt, but from the movie Benjamin Button, early in the movie when he was older. And it's my hairline. I don't want to talk about that. Anyway, I am also a motivational speaker. So I speak at conferences and trade shows. I was speaking at the Oregon Public Transit Conference yesterday. And I am a motivational speaker, but not like Matt Foley. I don't live in a van down by a river. I do live in a condo down by the Deschutes River, which I really love. I get out there walking in just a moment after the session wraps up today. And I'm not seeing any LOLs out there. I need to know that you're with me. Give me some emojis if you got them. I've been told actually that I don't look like Brad Pitt. It's fine. I get it. Right. I've been told I look like Jim Carrey from a distance. And I was like, oh, all right, fine. Like Jim Carrey. And I was like, no, I was like, yeah, I remind you of Jim Carrey. And then, yeah, I was like, wow, that's nice. Okay. And thank you. I see some smiley faces coming. And I said, Jim Carrey. And I looked for a photo and I found this photo of Jim. And I was like, oh, I like this photo. I need a little more fluff in my hair. Let me see if I can get a little lift. I don't know what's going on. My hair's feathering because I'm stuck in the 80s, I guess. They were like, oh, that's not the version of Jim Carrey that you remind us of, Anthony. It's more like this version. And I was like, okay, fine, I'll take it. I'm on the board for the Boys and Girls Club here. And if you have a Boys and Girls Club where you are, I love them. It's my favorite mission in the world. And I'll be the MC for their annual fundraiser again this year, wearing some silly costumes, all just for having fun. I get to MC the holiday parade this year. I've MC'd Rotary Club duck races. I'm always wearing some silly outfit because I like to have fun. I like to be a member of my community. I like to be a goofball as well. So I'm going to be a goofball today, and I hope that's okay with you. So if, the part I said motivational speaking is part of what I do. The other part of what I do is I do work inside of workplaces with intact teams. This is one of my favorite activities called Helium Sticks. Don't worry, we have an activity that we will play together today. We can't do this one because we have to be in person to do that one. It's a super fun activity to actually initiate conflict within groups. It's a fun little game we play. So I do a lot of that work, and I do a lot of professional development coaching as well. And then I get to speak in conferences. This is me speaking earlier this year in Taiwan, in the city of Taipei, for an international conference, which is really great, really awesome opportunity for me. When I speak overseas, I get treated like royalty. I get really nice hotels. There's this great food. They do these great tours. I get to be part of all these cool experiences. It's really nice, but man, jet lag is hard. I have no aspirations to try to do that all the time because it's really hard on the body. Okay, so that's a little bit about me. Now, I will tell you that I've done work with districts before. Before moving here to Bend, Oregon, about 5 years ago, I was working for the Gunnison Valley RTA. That's a Rural Transportation Association in Colorado. And I've worked for a variety of different districts over the year, either in partnership with them as a contractor or doing some work as an employee. So thank you for the work that you do. I really do appreciate what you contribute to your communities in whatever facet that is. And I want to make that stuff that you do easier. I want you to have an easier time with this hard stuff we call work. And how do we do that? Like, how can we activate resilience to make this hard work that we do a little bit easier each day with a little more positivity, a little more fun? Okay, that's the focus of what we'll do today. So I told you I live in Bend, and I love living here. And I'm an active participant in programs that our Parks and Recreation District puts on. Um, this is a great trail system. This is by the Old Mill District that connects all the way right next to my condo. It's wonderful. We have great Parks and Rec. The ODOT, the Oregon Department of Transportation, is actively adding more bike paths and connectivity and a bridge going across the highway, so that we don't have to be in our cars. And I appreciate that Parks and Rec does that, and that ODOT does that, and they partner with other people. And I also love that we have a really good transportation network here. It's got some constraints on it because we're growing really fast, as most of you know about Bend. And off to the left in this image, you can't quite see it, is a Bend Parks and Recreation District's area. So the pavilion, it's our ice hockey rink. I'm playing ice hockey right now, so I love it. Anyway, that's me. That's my life. So that's enough about me. Let's talk about what we're going to play with today. And these are activities that come out of this book. If you like a copy of this book, these are available for purchase on Amazon. I'll share a link with you later. But we're going to play with some of the elements of this book. We'll talk just a little bit about human happiness today, because it's a big framing of my work. And then we'll talk about some of these other parts, like what's it like to be really engaged in the work that you do, and what's it like to have good leadership and have trust. We'll play with trust very specifically today. And then what about growth? And is growth easy? It can be. Can growth be uncomfortable? It can be, and that's okay. So how do you lean into that? How do you get comfortable with this discomfort of what I call strategic discomfort? I recognize this doesn't feel good because I'm trying new things. We'll come back to that again. Okay. And then there's hard parts of work, like conflict and toxicity and burnout. Those are real things. Burnout is something that people refer to a lot without understanding truly what it means. We won't play with that too much today, but if you're interested, these are all in the book. And the book is full of activities. That's the idea. There's QR codes at the end of the book so that you can play with some of these things and learn, because education and information without application doesn't really get you anywhere. And we will talk about application today and how important it is for you to apply the things that you're learning. So the book you're noticing is pink, right? It's Pepto-Bismol pink. And I did reach out to Pepto-Bismol. The company that owns that is Procter & Gamble, and they're massive. So I reached out to somebody that's in their marketing department in London. I sent them an email, multiple texts, even called them a few times to see if they would sponsor my programs on my books and my talks. I even sent them a candygram, and they didn't get back to me. So I don't think they're going to sponsor my programs, but I'm an entrepreneur. I'm not done trying to find ways to pair this idea that, the book is pink, like Pepto-Bismol is pink, because the pink stuff helps our stomach feel better when we have stressful moments or discomfort, right? And the idea is to try to make this work stuff easier, to make the hard parts of work easier to do. And so I've been thinking more about this and how to partner and be entrepreneurial in this. And so I'm actually thinking about, well, what else do we know will make our stomachs upset? I know what it is. And the example I'm going to give you is what I've pitched to Taco Bell. It's the new Pepto-Lupa with a Pepto-Lupa cream sauce, because you know what's going to happen. You're going to have that Taco Bell and say, oh, this tastes so good. And then after that, you're going to be like, oh, this is a really bad idea. My stomach doesn't feel very good. So that's, what it looks like to be so entrepreneurial. But anyway, the idea behind this is to help you have an easier time with this. And again, there's a toolbox if you buy a copy of the book that you get all these things. Enough of the sales pitch. I hope that was mild. So today what we're going to talk about is a few things. We're going to talk about negativity bias, how it's wired into us. It's a very strongly wired thing in our brain. We're going to talk about the 5 factors of resilience and how to activate those factors and be aware of those factors in you and how to use those. And then we're going to test your resilience in action. We're going to try to get you a little bit stressed out by trying a fun little game that might, bring out the competitive juices. Somebody will win a copy of the book for that. And then we'll talk about the importance of trust and support, because trust actually is a resilience tool. Having access to other people that can support you actually adds to your ability to navigate these hard parts of work. And we're going to give you ideally some, opportunity today to build what I would call fluency. Now, you won't be fluent in leadership or resilience, but just like most of us don't have fluency in another language, or not many of us do. Some of us maybe Spanish or some other different things, but I'm not fluent in Spanish, but I can speak a little bit of Spanish, right? I can speak enough Spanish to get myself to the location of a bathroom and to get more chips and salsa and tequila and navigate when I'm in, Mexico. I love going to Mexico. But ideally, what we give you today is the ability to have some fluency, some ability to access some language. And what I mean by that is to say, oh, that's what that Brad Pitt looking guy was talking about. And then having some awareness and being like, oh, that's what that feeling is in the moment. Okay. And now what am I going to do differently? And how are you going to take a different action? Okay. And that's the whole idea behind this is the action is application and application is change, and change is where you start becoming a different version of yourself in a good way. We're all here to try to grow and give and be stronger at what we do, hopefully. And that's what I would love for you. So I'm going to ask you a question. You don't need resilience. You don't need the ability to bounce back. You don't need to have tons of resources. We talk about money and special districts. You don't need to be at this program if you can answer these two questions. I have too many employees and don't have enough for work for my team. Is anybody here saying yes to that? I don't see anybody putting yes in the chat on that one. Okay, good, cool. And then, I have more money in my budget that I can spend and I should really give money back. Anybody saying yes to that? I am monitoring the chat. I don't see that. If you have some LOLs for me, I will take them, right? That's the nature of things, right? We don't have enough people, enough budget, and that's okay. But how do we get the most out of the people that we work with and the people that work alongside of us? How do we get the most out of ourselves so that we come from a place of being the most resilient, strong version of ourselves? And that's what I mean by that. And so by activating our resilience, by activating the resilience of other people, and having strong people that feel comfortable and confident in the work that they're doing, and leading from a place of positivity. I don't mean toxic positivity. I mean positivity, and we'll talk about it in a moment. Basically, you're finding free employees because when you have inactive employees or disengaged employees, you lose 17% of their effectiveness. And that leads to a lot of absenteeism. That just means people, use all of their sick days even when they're not sick, because they are just not showing up at work. Or they're doing something called quiet quitting, where they're just doing enough work to get by, enough work to not be on a performance improvement plan, enough work to not get fired, but not what they could be giving. And so there's a lot of work loss, you're losing 44% of the effectiveness of people if they're not fully engaged in their work. And so how do you tap into that? How do you get more out of those folks? And, and so if you're realistically working with 56% of the potential, that's 44% lopped off there. Then if you have 10 employees working at 56%, you're essentially only getting the effective work of 6 employees. You're losing 4 full-time equivalent employees worth of effective work, or 176 hours worth of lost work, by just not having people really engaged in what they're doing and not having the ability to bounce back from setbacks, not willing to challenge themselves. Okay, and that's what we'll play with today. So I want to ask you this question. Today's session is really framed about you and what you need. And I love framing it up this way because this helps me think about the future. What would it be like for you to be the leader that people talk about 10 years from now? Like that person who saw something in me I didn't see in myself, or that person who helped me through the biggest challenge professionally that I ever had. And I'm so much different now because of what that person offered me. Think about what that can mean for you, and then how you have to start behaving that way today, and doing that through a small series of actions and behaviors today. Okay. And I love this thing. We won't use this visualization too much, but I use it when I have more time with the team. I do a lot of full day programs and half day programs, where it's called Wiser Elder Self. It's where you envision yourself. I use 20 years out from now. I'm 53 right now. What would it be like for me to be the wiser elder version of myself today? What would it be like to tap into that version of me that's been through a lot more, that has resilience just through lived experience, that has grown instrumentally or through different steps and massive leaps forward, and has a calmness and an ease to the way that they carry themselves. They're unflappable. They're resilient. What would it be like if you tapped into that person? So hold on to that today, and that person that you think you could be in 10 years from now that people would be talking about. Okay. All right, let's dip into negativity for just a moment. We have on the screen here fight or flight. This is a very real thing for the human brain. To go into that spot today, very simply, I'm going to talk about the brain and having 2 parts. Okay. Part 1 is your limbic system. This is your reptilian brain. This is your fight or flight system back here. That's a valuable part of your brain. It keeps you alive. That triggers that fight or flight response. And then there's this part up here, the the prefrontal cortex, this is where so much of your, they call it executive function. It's where your critical thinking comes from. It's where you have your supercomputer that's doing all the simulating for you, trying to find problems. And simplistically, if you are stuck in fight or flight back here, that means you're stealing energy and power from up here. And I want to get you out of that space. And I want you very quickly to be able to emotionally regulate. That's a key thing with resilience, is to regulate your emotions. We'll come back to that. And realize that that is stealing energy from what you need up here. This is the big, powerful part of your brain. Okay. Now we have this old wiring system because our brains were formed, 70,000 years. They haven't really structurally changed. We were living in tribes. We were working hand in hand with other people. We wanted to be part of tribes. Well, we have this operating system that's really old. The world has changed a lot in 70,000 years. And so we've got like Windows 98 operating up here, maybe even worse, Windows Vista. Ooh, remember Windows Vista? Oh, it's terrible. And so you might be thinking, well, these brains, they're not ready for this world of today, of the complexity of today, because we have these tiny little brains. No, that's not true. We have big brains. How do we tap into all the beauty and the complexity that these brains can handle over time? And that's what we'll explore today. And we talk about this, cave person wiring, this very ancestral wiring, and this negativity kept us alive. Our ancestors were fearful of the world around them. That fearfulness helped them stay alive. Okay. And so you're stuck with that a little bit. You can overcome that process of having this negativity mindset just by being aware of it and saying, oh, that's my old cave person brain trying to keep me alive. That's actually not a threat for me. Okay. Now our brain always wants us to deal with physical threats. That's, food, shelter, safety, water. We don't want to die from the elements. We don't want to die from starvation or dehydration, or by being attacked by another group, right? That was a big threat back in those cave people days, And when we deal with those things, we treat them very significantly, right? That triggers fight or flight when we're worried about that. When we have solved those physical problems, we move on very quickly to solving social threats. And we treat social threats just as significantly as we do physical threats. And here's why. We were surviving 70,000 years ago in tribes, multi-generational, people working on discrete different tasks. By the way, the human brain is not good at multitasking. It's not meant to do that very well. We had some people that would hunt, some people that would gather, some people that would weave, some people that would make the food, some people that would take care of the young people in our tribes. We would have some people that would prepare food, some people that would gather, whatever, all those things. We did these together. We had some people that would protect us from other tribes or threats, like things that were trying to kill us. We did all these things together. And because of that, we survived. And so your brain recognizes the power of being in a group was a really important tool for our survival. And so if we are threatened by the group and we are threatened of being kicked out of the group, that's why it hurts so much when we don't belong at work, or we don't feel like we're around people like us. We don't feel like we belong in our community. We don't feel safe in our community. Because those social threats are something that we took very seriously. Because if you got kicked out of the tribe, you probably died. You by yourself on your own couldn't solve all the problems that our ancestors were trying to solve. You needed to work together with a group of people. And that's why that group cohesion is so important. Now, your brain is constantly trying to work on solving solutions for you. These social threats, I don't know about you, but sometimes I'm in the shower and I'm like, why are my fingers all prickly or not pruny? It's because I've been in there for a while thinking about something, like having these hypothetical conversations with myself. And that's a good thing. Having hypothetical conversations is valuable in the sense that it's your brain working through, simulating different things, trying to solve problems and come up with the best solutions. Okay. Now, our brains get spun out in different scenarios that really triggered this negativity response. We could spend all day long talking about negativity and patterns of self-sabotage. We're going to touch on it lightly today. They call these problems, these big, complicated, multifaceted problems, challenges, they call them wicked problems. Not like Wicked the movie, or not like Wicked in the 80s. Wicked, not like that. You also might call them VUCA problems. It stands for volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. Those situations really trigger negativity inside of us, a fear-based response, that fight or flight response. For example, I don't know if you remember this year. This wasn't a very fun year. I've already told you that I'm a professional speaker. I speak at conferences. I go into workplaces. All of that got shut down in 2020, and my finances went right down, not good. So much so that like I was at the time doing really well financially before COVID hit. And I would buy like the really nice cans of dog food and be like, oh, look at this ingredient list. I'd open up the dog food. I'd be like, oh, there's real chunks of meat in here. Like this is high quality stuff. And I quit buying that, and I was buying the big, 90-pound bags of Gravy Train, the cheap stuff. And I wasn't even feeding dogs. I was just feeding myself because, I just needed protein. You can LOL if you want with me on that one. Fine. I didn't really have to eat dog food. I'm fine. Okay. All right. So, we deal with these moments. They come up again and again, including like in 2021. That was a really hard time. Thank you for my LOLs. That was really hard, because there was so much uncertainty in those couple of years. And then it keeps changing. We keep having these massive disruptions to our workforce, to our community lives. And it's happening faster than it's ever happened before because of technology. The world is flat, if you know that book. And now AI is the big thing. And I don't know about you all, but I've seen, some documentaries on where AI goes, and it doesn't really end well for the human race. So I'm a little bit worried about that. I'm very, very kind to ChatGPT when I use it. I say thank you and please all the time because I know ChatGPT is watching. Okay. So it's chaos, all these things mixing together. It can be really hard. Okay. So why talk about negativity? Well, I want you to understand negativity because I want you to interrupt it. I want you to be able to say, oh, that's that feeling, that's that awareness, that moment of being like, all right, that's not helping me. Being in a negative state isn't valuable. What's the message? How do I move on? Because what we know from research is that our brains in a positive state are wired to work more effectively, more efficiently, more powerfully when we are in a positive state, like 31% more productive in a positive state. Okay. Your brain is a third more powerful just by not being fearful, not by not activating this part of your brain. Okay. All right. So let's talk about how to keep this part of your brain. This is the limbic system, the reptilian brain, the fight or flight portion of your brain. Let's talk about how to help you with that through the process of building resilience. So that's your brain going to the gym, doing some mental fitness reps, and helping you be stronger in the moment. Now, it's really interesting about the science of resilience and the understanding of what resilience does in workplaces. It has two parts. Now, this technically is Dwight Schrute. He only has one part, but it's the most famous part, I think, in all of TV, at least to me. Your resilience really matters, and then team resilience really matters as well. Okay. And so when we talk about your resilience, it's significant is that, teams with resilient leaders are 30% more productive just by being resilient, having the ability to bounce back quicker. That's the quick definition of resilience. They have 50% less burnout as well. Okay. I mean, it's a big deal just by being resilient and having these resilience factors that you can tap into. Second part is team resilience, that by having a resilient team with resilient leaders, they have a 42% higher return on asset. That's for the profit side of the world. They grow 3.2 times faster than other ones. They get more out of their people, and they do it with more ease, with more positive emotions, without getting lost and spun out. Okay. Let me give you an example of what this resilience and these 5 factors we're going to talk about can look like in reality. I was in Japan earlier this year. I told you I went to Taiwan. I had a great time in Taiwan. Spent some time there with some friends that I knew. I got to meet them when I was in the Philippines for work. And so here I was I went from Taiwan to Japan. I was going to Japan to go skiing with my friends. Now, I've been to Japan before. I went to Osaka and Tokyo and Kyoto. Kyoto is amazing. A few years ago. Is anybody, if you've been there, throw in the chat that you've been, hey, I've been to Japan. Tell me where you've been. I'd love to know. And when I flew to Japan. Now, Tokyo is a massive metropolitan area, and so it has 2 big airports, Haneda and Narita. And I've flown there before, and when I flew there before, I flew to Narita. NRT is the airport code. And this time I flew to Narita, got there late in the day. I came over from Taiwan, and I got a hotel. I flew United Airlines, and then I got a hotel, and then I spent the night in Narita. Next day, I get up and I take a commuter flight, a local airline, up to Sapporo. Spent 5 days in Sapporo. Sapporo is a really cool city. It's 2.5 million people, and it's in the northern region, in the Hokkaido region of Japan. It's super wintry out there. Like, they get tons of snow, and so much of their infrastructure is below ground. There's like 6-story malls underground, subway stations, restaurants. Anything you can want, you can actually do it underground. Now, they have awesome above ground infrastructure as well, which is cool. So I go to Sapporo. We spend 5 days there. We go to Hirafu, which is where Niseko United Resort is, and that's where we went skiing for 5 days. Had a great time, great food, fantastic snow. If you're a skier, it's really great up there. And then I reverse course. So we get done, and I go back to Sapporo, and then I take Sapporo. I take a flight back to Narita. I get a hotel again. I spend the night in the hotel, and then the next day I have to leave the hotel at 11, but my flight's not till 5 or 5:30, so I've got plenty of time. So I go to the airport. It takes 15 minutes to get there, and I get to the airport, and I'm like, I think I want to go do some shopping. They have these international airports often have these really cool shopping malls, and I have two nieces that love Pokemon. And so I'm like, all right, I'll go get some Pokemon cards. I'd bought some in Taiwan, and I'll get some different ones in Japan. And so I'm like, all right, well, let me go drop my bag. I have a snowboard with me, a big suitcase, a big backpack, all my stuff. And I was like, let me check my bags in. I'll go do some shopping, and I'll go hang out at a lounge for a while. So I'm walking around, and I pull out the United app on my phone, and I'm like, all right, where is the United terminal? Here. And I was like, well, it says go. My app says go to Terminal 3. I'm like, okay. So I go to Terminal 3, and I can't find United anywhere there. And I'm like looking around inside the app, and I'm like, why am I not finding this? What am I doing wrong? And I look at my boarding pass. My boarding pass says you're going to go to Redmond, Oregon. That's my local airport here. And I look at my departure, and it should be NRT. That's Narita. That's the airport code for that. And instead of NRT, it said HND. And I realized in that moment that I was at the wrong airport in Tokyo, that I was an hour and 40 minutes away from the correct airport. So I did what most of us would do in that moment. I had, a little freak out moment where I made this face, and, we're coming up on the holidays. And so I might have said fudge, just like this little boy said fudge in the movie, if you know what I mean. And then I had to solve my problem. And here's what these factors of resilience look like in action. Okay. First of all, when we're talking about resilience and about having the strong mind, the first thing you have to do is emotionally regulate. I couldn't let this part of my brain run the show. I couldn't let fight or flight run the show, because that fight or flight is impactful to you. Now, fight or flight helps you solve problems that are an existential threat, things that are going to kill you. Okay. But what it does is it gets your blood pressure up, it gets your heart rate up, it releases adrenaline into your system. And it makes you very close-minded. It makes you very discreetly focused on one thing in front of you that might be trying to harm you. Okay. And it takes away IQ points. Like, it actually impacts how smart you are in the moment, because it's very focused on the problem in front of you, which is usually, it's like, am I running away, or am I going to like aggressively attack the thing that's trying to harm me? Okay. If you can't regulate your emotions, it's stealing energy again from this part of your brain here, and we don't want to do that. Okay. So you have to regulate. I had my short freak out moment where I went, right? And then I was like, all right, I have to get this under control. All right. And I did. Second thing is, I had to have compassion. I made a mistake. I travel a lot, but sometimes I don't pay attention to the details like I needed to. And I have to be able to forgive myself around that and be like, hey, sometimes you make mistakes. Now, the mistake I made was only 3 letters. The difference between NRT, Narita Airport, and HND, I was only 3 letters off. Not a big deal, right? But it turned out to be a big deal, right? And then I was optimistic too. Like, I was like, all right, I made a mistake. I fly with United Airlines all the time. I'm a Premier 1K with them, which is a pretty high ranking for them. And they take care of me. I'll get on another flight. I don't have to be home tomorrow if I wind up not being able to get on a flight. I'm not going to get stuck in Japan forever. Eventually, they'll get rid of me, right? And so I had optimism. Now, optimism has two parts to it. It's a belief that a better future is possible, that you can solve problems in front of you. And also that you have an action that you can take. You know what you need to do to solve that problem. And that's where I tapped into some of these active tactical pieces of efficacy, which is your ability. I've traveled before in Japan. I travel a lot in general. I fly a lot in general. I know how to navigate airports. I know how to navigate public transportation systems. I know how to do ride shares. I knew that in Japan, there's a really good train system. Probably can get from one airport to the other on a train. I know that Google Maps works really well over there with the train function, and I know that the Uber app works as well, so I could take an Uber if I needed to. And then I let my supercomputer do the work. I let my brain work through scenarios as I actively explored what they could be. Well, could I change my flight here at the airport? Probably could. What does Uber say? Oh, Uber says they can get me there in an hour and 15 minutes. I don't fly for 4 hours. I've got plenty of time. Okay, good. wait, $211 for that Uber? That's a lot of money. All right, what's an alternative to that? Okay. And that was the train system. I found the train and I took the train. It took me an hour and 40 minutes. It cost me $30 or $17 or something. And I got there with 2 hours to spare, 2.5 hours to spare, checked in, everything worked fine. Okay. The first thing I could not do is I could not let myself get emotionally hacked, emotionally hijacked, emotionally dysregulated, because it shuts down all these other processes that are so important. Okay. That's what it looks like in action. Now, let's talk about you. Now, I want to do this really fancy digital voting platform. And I asked Jennifer Quisenberry, she's with SDAO, if she would pay for this really cool system. It's got all these analytics that happen. It would give you really cool data behind the scenes on what you're doing. And I said, it would cost $3,000. And she said, we can't afford $3,000. No. I was like, all right, cognitive agility. I'm going to use a different digital voting platform. And that's what you're going to use with me today. So get ready in the chat, because the digital voting platform we're going to use is your digits, your fingers. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you're going to vote 1 through 3, 4, 5. You can vote 0, or you can vote 5, or you can vote 2, 3, or 4. If you're voting 1, we're going to use the appropriate finger for a workplace setting, if you know what I mean. Okay. All right. So I'm going to put these on the screen. Get your fingers ready, because I would love to see you in the chat and see what you have to say about these things and how you feel about yourself. Okay. All right. So the first one is, that first factor is emotional regulation. Can you stay calm when a challenge arises, a mistake arises, a setback arises? How are you doing on a scale from 0 to 5 on that? All right, where are we at in the chat here? We got a 3, we got a 2, a 2, and a 1. Okay. Okay. Oh, you've got some pretty good. All right, we have 4s and 3s. Of all the people, Jenny Hartzell Hill, you're the only 5. Am I saying right now? Okay. All right. Cool. All right. Good. 4 is floating in. All right. All right. Give you a few more seconds to vote. There we go. All right. That's interesting. So average score in there is probably like 3.5 or something like that. Good. All right. That's something to work on, right? And that's that moment of awareness and action that you can have for yourself, and just say, oh, I feel unease. I feel discomfort. I can't let that hijack me. What am I going to do? Okay. There are some tools around mental fitness that help you distract yourself from those things. But if you can just catch yourself and say, stop, you're getting emotionally dysregulated. I got to regulate, because that's going to help me solve these problems. That's a good thing. Okay. All right. Good. That was number 1. Number 2 is self-compassion. So I'm going to type self-compassion in here. What would you put for your scores for self-compassion? Again, 0 to 5. 0 is low. Kendra says 1. 4, 1, 3.5. Oh, Heather went with half scores. Okay, fine. He's been like 3.26. Good. Okay, 3s, 3s, 3s. Okay. All right. We've got some 4s in here. We've got some 3s in here. We've got some 2s and 1s. All right. This is something to work on, right? And, when we talk about compassion, when we talk about self-compassion, giving compassion to other people is great, but if you don't include yourself, it's incomplete. I know we want to hold ourselves, hopefully, to a high standard. I know we want to do well in achieving things. I know we want to do well in not making mistakes. But if you are trying to grow and you are trying to do new things and you are taking on new challenges, you're taking on a new leadership role, you're moving to a new organization, you're rolling out a new program, new things often involve anxiety, and they often involve mistakes. And so I want you to think about those moments as, I like to use the term, strategic discomfort, right? It doesn't feel good trying something new. I recognize this is the path to growth, and growth doesn't always feel perfect, and that's okay. Or I call it challenge stress. I'm challenging myself in a new way. It's okay to be stressful, or be a little bit stressed out by that. Not to the point of being emotionally dysregulated, right? But to the point of like saying, oh, this is uncomfortable. That's okay. It's okay for me. It's also okay for other people. So remember that these resilience things, you want to give the other people the ability to see this, to see their own abilities and to grow and learn, and for them to be okay with this uncomfortable process of growth. And the quicker you can go from, "Ooh, this doesn't feel good," to, "and I'm taking clear-headed action." That's it right there. That's mastering things. That's having resilience in the moment. All right, good. That was our self-compassion. All right, what's our next one here? That will be optimism. Now, optimism has two parts, and I want you to think about this before you vote. Okay. First of all, optimism is a belief that, oh, I spelled it wrong, but we're going with it. Optimism is a belief that, that you can solve challenges or you can learn from those challenges, and that you can help solve those challenges by taking action. So there's a second part. It's not just being like, I believe good things will happen to me, and I'm going to sit back and just wait for the universe to manifest those for me. That's not how it works. You got to take action. Okay. What do you all think about your scores there? I'll even retype optimism. I'm optimistic that I can type it correctly the second time. Optimism. There we go. All right. We got some 5s, 2s. Okay. All right. Some 1s, some 5s, and 4s again. All right. These are good. All right. Oh, we got some. Okay. Yeah. I think some of you with these lower scores will get some work to do around hope and optimism, right? And pragmatism too is in there somewhere. All right. Good. That was a lot of scatter on these scores. Okay. Good. All right, so that's optimism. That's the idea that you can help solve problems. And then scores coming in still. And then this one is called self-efficacy. So this is really just use the word ability. I'm going to type that in the chat here, ability. And that you trust in your abilities to handle difficult tasks and responsibilities at work. Okay, let's see how you're doing here. Okay. These are stronger. These are better. I like these. Good. Now, again, you continue to grow your abilities as you just keep doing this thing called work. But if you start trying something new and doing something new that you haven't done before, your abilities are going to kind of they're going to reset, right? So if you've never been a leader of really good at the technical work that you do, really good at the field work, you're really good at delivering program, whatever the thing is. And when you start supervising people, that's a really different skill set, and you have to grow your abilities around that new skill set. But these scores overall are good. They're better than the previous ones. Excellent. Okay. And then our final one is cognitive agility. So this is easily moving through. I'm trying to type and talk at the same time. It's not going well. It's moving through options to find the optimal solution. Okay. Good. Jenny says 5. Cool. And what happens here is you have to be okay with being like, I think this is a way to solve this. No, that won't work. Discard the idea. That's okay. If you're doing that in the group setting, who's got ideas on this? And people have to be comfortable saying, how about this? And be like, no, that won't work because of this. Oh, okay. Discard the idea. That's okay. You just need to generate ideas. Your brain often needs breaks around these things too. So if you're working on something and you can't find the solution, go make a cup of coffee, go for a walk, go talk to somebody, make a quick meal, something like that. Your brain is actively working on solving those problems right up here for you. It's called the default mode network. It's a series of connections up here that are actually trying to solve problems when you're not even actively working on it. That's why you wake up at 2 a.m. and you're like, oh my gosh, that's the answer, right? And you're like, I have to write that down before I go back to bed because I'm going to forget in the morning, right? Okay. All right, good. All right, so these are solid. This is good. Hopefully you found something in here that you want to work on that will help you with that. And if you're really curious about these habits that we keep talking about and about trying new things, I'm going to give you a link for another webinar I'm doing tomorrow and some resources. That one will be recorded. I know it'd be hard to come to a webinar on back-to-back days, but we're going to talk about habits and creating new habits. This is my newest publication, and I get it to zoom in. I don't know. Here we go. Called Focus on the Happy. It's a series of habits to think about from leadership, trust, resilience, and also mindset. All right, you ready to play a game? Oh boy, get your fingers ready. You're gonna have to type here, okay? What I'm going to put on the screen in just a moment is it's meant to test you. It's going to test, can you emotionally regulate? Are you going to get stressed out playing a game? Are you optimistic that you can solve the game? Do you have ability and efficacy? We're going to talk about abilities. Ability can be knowledge that can be applied to new scenarios. And then do you have cognitive agility? Can you move through different scenarios to solve the problem? All right, here's what the game looks like. It's a game called Connection. So if you like games and you like little brain breaks, I know I do. I pull my phone out, take a little break every once in a while. I'm going to put 8 cards on the screen. There's 2 groups of 4 here. The first person to get them absolutely correct all the way through, I will give a copy of my book. I will send it to your door. Are you ready? Get set, go. You have to type all 4 of the words that you think belong together, put them in the chat. We might have a winner already. I'm singing for reasons I don't understand. Allison, you are fast on the draw. I got to tell you, that was really good. All right, so most of you are getting it. Yeah. Okay. Good. All right. Yep. Yeah. All right. We've got the correct answer. If you would, Allison, shoot me your email address in the chat, or I'll put my email in the chat and you can just shoot me an email with your address. That would be appreciated. I will send you a copy of the Little Book of Workplace Happiness. And if you say, well, Anthony, I'm pretty happy already, well, give the copy to your boss or somebody at work that's not happy. Nice job, Allison. All right, I'm going to copy your email address here. Copy. I will get you a copy or send you an email here in a moment. Okay, good job. So, you had to work through different scenarios here. And if you got stuck, I would have given you these clues, right? The clues are in a medieval court and the characters you might find in a comic book. Now, when I do this with groups, when I'm in, like in person with a group of people, I did this with a group yesterday. I put 16 cards out there and it gets way more complicated. And you have to use cognitive agility to work through more complicated scenarios without getting upset. And I ask people, I'm like, how's it feel doing this? I'm like, panic, fun. It can be a lot of things, anxiety, right? But you have efficacy, you have ability, you have knowledge that can be applied to this little game that we just played. That game, that knowledge you have is, well, a medieval court. I know things in a court like princes and queens, and a bard, it's a person that sings, and a jester. And then I know characters from a comic book. Oh, Batman. Oh, I see the patterns here. Batman, Joker. Wait, Jester and Joker could go together, but they actually don't solve the game. So I have to discard that idea. I have to move on to a new potential solution. And that's how you get to solving this problem. Okay. Again, emotional regulation is the key. If I put these on the screen and you're like, you're not going to solve the problem. Okay. So that's what our solutions look like for this one. And again, a cognitive agility was involved, but so were all of the other factors of resilience in this tiny little fun game. All right, so that's resilience. If you have questions at any point, you can drop them in the chat. I'll leave some time, hopefully, at the end for some of these four questions that can pop in the Q&A. But let's talk for just a second about trust. Okay. And it's about leading with trust. And trust is really critical to solving things with other people. Stephen Covey is one of the first people to write books about trust in the modern day. And he said that the book was called The Speed of Trust. And it's because trust has speed to it. When we don't have to put time and energy towards navigating the people in front of us, if we can just say what needs to be said without having to do politics and back channels and all that stuff, it's so much more efficient. And so I want to talk to you today about what it's like to be trustworthy. And for some people, it's like, well, it's not that I don't trust you, but it's that I don't trust you, right? Trust is a huge deal. Trust is a risky proposition. So we'll talk about what that looks like. Now, trust as a definition is the confidence amongst people that the intentions are good. So hang on to the word good intentions there, okay? I trust your intentions. You trust my intentions. That's a good thing. That helps us lead from a place of good intentions. And it also means that if I trust your intentions, that means that I can be vulnerable. I can share weaknesses. I can say, I don't know how to do that. I've never done that before. Can you show me how to do that? Can I tap into your expertise? You're way better at this thing over here than I am. That doesn't make me weak. It doesn't make you strong. It just makes you better at different things than I'm better at. And that's good. And the metaphor that I love using when I talk about trust with people is about a bucket. So if I am trying to build trust with you, there's a bucket between us, right? And if you and I trust each other, we've known each other for a long time, you've proven to be trustworthy, I've proven to be trustworthy, that bucket is full of water, and that water is trust. If I don't know you, I might have an empty bucket. I've never met you before. I've never heard anything about you before. Very quickly, I want to learn to like and trust you, but it's hard because trust is a risky proposition, and trust is something that we build in drops. Little tiny behaviors, little tiny actions, consistency, all add drops of water to the bucket, and we fill that bucket up over time. Sometimes we spill the bucket. Sometimes we knock the bucket over. Sometimes we make mistakes. If we can honor those mistakes, we can maintain the integrity of that bucket and the trusting relationship between two people. But if you break trust, you can't act like it didn't happen. Okay. You have to honor that. So there's really, when it's simplistically, there's two reasons we don't trust people. One is that it's risky to trust people. So if we don't know them, we don't trust them. Okay. Trusting people can be risky. We can get burned. Okay. Our brain finds ways to do this very quickly. It's this us versus them thing. We won't spend time talking about it today, but it's a big thing. We want to trust people. We want people around us to be like us, because we can trust people that are like us more than we can trust people that aren't like us. We do that quickly, microseconds inside of our brain. The second reason we don't trust people is because we know them. Give me an LOL if you know what I mean, right? Because they have proven, they have demonstrated through their behavior that bucket between the two of us has 0 drops in it. Or not only does it have 0 drops in it, but they broke the bucket. Like they tipped it over right in front of us and they stomped all over it, because they've lied or they've cheated. They've been inconsistent. They've been speaking out of both sides of their mouth, right? They're not showing care for other people. So that's a hard one, right? Now, if you recognize there's people out there that you can't trust because they've done something so egregious, I get that, right? The idea is, how do you maintain trust with most of these other people that can be trustworthy? And so this comes from the work of Ken Blanchard, that talks about trust, that talks about these 4 areas of able, believable, caring, and dependable. And we're going to go back to our digital voting platform again. Get your fingers ready as we talk about trust. Same scoring system, 0 to 5, on this one. How do you do on this one? Now, again, I want you to think about this in small, consistent actions, thoughts, words every day. Able. I am able. I have the skills and knowledge to do my role effectively, confidently, consistently. Good. These are great scores. 5s. Okay. Julie, you have a 2. I want to know why you have a 2, if you'd be willing to share it in the chat. Some of that can be from moving to a new job. I don't have abilities at this new job yet because I'm brand new in this job, right? New role. Okay, great. Perfect. Thank you, Julie. Good honoring of that in you. And then hopefully over time, 6 months from now, year from now, you will have more ability. You will grow your ability. Okay. That's great. Awesome. Thanks for jumping in the chat there, everybody. How about believability? How are we doing here? I act honestly and with integrity. People can trust what I say. My thoughts, words, and actions align. Okay. This is one where I struggle a little bit, because I have an aversion to conflict. I don't want to harm people. I don't always say what needs to be said. But if I trust people and they trust me and they know I'm coming from a place of good intentions, it's easier for me to step up. The scores are really high on this one. Very nice. Very nice. All right. How about this one? Caring. I genuinely care about the people I work with, make an effort to understand their needs and perspectives. Okay. 5s again. Okay. Interesting. This is the one that's usually lowest with groups, because you're like, you know what? This is work. We don't have to have feelings at work, right? Do we? I don't know. Just come in and do your job, right? Oh, these are great scores. I'm really glad to hear this, because, like I said, this is one that's usually the lowest. And then dependable. I'm reliable and consistent in my actions, and others can count on me to follow through on what I promise. Okay, cool, awesome. Dependability goes in all directions. If you have direct reports, people that you supervise, you have to be dependable to them. Hey, I have to turn in this report to the state on Friday at noon. Can I get your edits by Thursday, close of business? That's dependability. You work with peers or laterals. How can you be dependable to them? My unit needs to get things done so your unit can get things done. Or are you dependable up to the people above you? And if you're not, you probably don't have a job for very long. All right, good. These are good scores. Nice job. So for this one overall, without having true access to the data, I just hit a button. The ability was the one that was surprisingly lowest with you all. Ability can be grown. Okay. Learning new things. This is where support is so important and relationships are so important. My background is in positive psychology. Positive psychology is the study of human happiness. Science is very clear that people with purpose live longer and happier. People with high quality relationships, warm, vulnerable, supportive, reciprocal relationships that have access to social support, that give social support and receive social support, those are people that live happier lives. So the quality and depth of your relationships really matter. And so if we're talking about ability specifically, who out there knows the answers that you need? Who's going to help you grow your ability faster than you learning it on your own? That's people that have been doing this for a long time and taking the time to say, hey, I don't know how to do this. Will you show me how? And they're like, oh my gosh, you just saved me 2 weeks of doing this the wrong way. Or if you're part of trade associations like Special District Association of Oregon, go to these trainings, learn things about things that it's fast tracking, it's catalyzing your learning so that you can grow that area, that ability area in this model of trust. Great, thank you. Thank you for being so involved in the chat. I really appreciate it. So let's talk about excellence. This comes from the book from Will Durant. So excellence then is not an act, but it's a habit. And so you are what you repeatedly do. And this is typically attributed to Aristotle, and it's informed by the philosophy of Aristotle, but Will Durant actually came up with this quote. And so how do we make a habit that actually can help you do this, to have more resilience, or to do this work with more ease and flow? And I'm going to give you a couple of seconds to play with this today. Now, when we talk about building habits, this comes from the book Atomic Habits by James Clear. I think it's an okay book. I think the framework is amazing. I think the book is a little bit longer than it needs to be. Fine. I want you to take away from this the opportunity to create a habit today and to craft one today. Okay. A habit is very simple. What's the action you're going to take? When's the time and place that you're going to take it? Okay. So if you're like, all right, what I need to do is I need to have a more emotional regulation when I go talk to this one person that always stresses me out, that always creates anxiety for me, that is a challenge for you. Okay, that's the time and place. That's the prompts for you to remember through awareness to take a different action, to be like, I have to calm myself down, because if I don't calm myself down, this gets hijacked by this back here and I lose IQ and I speak with a lot of emotion, whatever that thing is. Okay. And the third part is really, really, really important. It's identity. Let's talk about these in a little more detail. So the action is in blue. It's clearly defining what you want to do. Okay. In the moment of dealing with this challenging person, I am going to maintain my cool. Right. That's emotional regulation. Okay. The context is in green. And the third part is really important. The purpose and the identity. And it's the reason behind that. It's the why for you behind that. Because I want to be a great leader. Because I want to be the person people talk about 10 years from now that lifted them up in their career. Because I want our district to be seen as an incredible resource for the community that I live in and for the work that we do. Okay. There's something there for it. And if you can connect it to service, it really sticks, because our brains are very social and they're wired for service. They're wired for helping other people. And if you can tap into that, you're tapping into something powerful that your brain will pay more attention to. In a book called Mind Magic, which came from Dr. James Doty, who's one of my heroes, and he just passed away in July, a little bit heartbroken about it. He studied the science of manifestation. Now, I don't mean manifestation like putting it out to the universe and just letting go. No, about helping your brain do things on your behalf to solve the problems you want to solve. And he uses the metaphor of a filing cabinet and a bloodhound. So your brain is constantly filing away different things that could help you. And the bloodhound is the thing that you're trying to train. You want that bloodhound to pick up the scent of the things that you want it to go find and solve and see and pay attention to in this big world that's constantly bombarding us with information. If you get the bloodhound on the right scent, that scent is connected to service. Your bloodhound pays attention for those opportunities in front of you. And it might appear like these things are coming to you in the form of magic. They're not. You're just training your brain to pay attention to the right things. And the right things often that will move forward easier in this world are things related to serving other people. Okay. That's why that third part is so, so important. Okay. So, here's what I wrote up as my little habit, and it's color coded around that. And I can put these back up in just a moment if you need those up. But if I sense a VUCA scenario, that's that volatile, uncertain, complex, or ambiguous scenario that can trigger my emotional state. All right, I want to maintain my positive emotional state. That's in green, because I want to be the leader that other people come to when problems arise. That's service. You're helping serve other people, right? You're helping solve problems. That's leadership. Okay. So let's come back to this question. What would it be? What would it take for you to be the leader people talk about 10 years from now? That person that you're like, you know what? The person that was the best leader I ever worked under, that showed me a path towards something I couldn't see in myself, was this person. And what do you have to do to be that person now? And what do you have to tap into that's related to the wiser elder self within you, that can help you solve that problem? Okay. Now, I'm going to put this up in just a moment, and I want to give you a free resource. Okay. I want to help you with this VUCA scenario and with these resilience factors. So I'm going to give you a PDF to take away with you today. And that PDF will help you just kind of like build these new habits. You can play with the habits we just talked about as well. I'm going to ask you for feedback. Feedback on the session, what you liked about today, what was really helpful, what could you use more of? How would you describe this to someone else? And then also, what would it be like? Excuse me. What are some of the organizations that I could help serve? If it's the district you work at, great. I would love to do that. I do team buildings, trust buildings, teamwork stuff all day long. I help with leadership, trust, culture, wellness, all those things. If you go to associations like special district or different ones, I would love to speak at those conferences and share this information. We know that positive workplaces get way more done with the same amount of people than the workplaces that don't have them. I'm going to put this back up, so don't panic. I'm going to take it away for just a second to say that you have homework, right? And I'm sorry, but like if you want to make changes, you want to have these awarenesses and these actions, you got to do some homework. So don't make this startled face or make this face. Like it's not going to do what you want. And so that's the freebie I'm going to give you. Is it's about, resilience. It's about building up these new skills, and overcoming these obstacles when they present themselves, because they will continue to come. And again, there's a webinar coming up tomorrow, if you want to join that. And if you sign up on my email list, then you will get invitations to these future ones. I currently do not have everyone's email addresses, or your permission to continue to email you. So if you want me to email you, you have to kind of sign up for these things. I'll put the QR code up for that in just a moment. But think about this big change that you could be making and what it would be like to make those changes in 1 month. And I say 1 month for a reason, because our brains actually, it takes about a month for us to wire a new habit into our brains and to have that new habit stick. And there's ways to make those stick by having repetition and emotion attached to it, and positivity. And you're going to have to overcome fear in these things. Abraham Maslow said so well. So you can go back towards safety or forward towards growth. If you're going forward towards growth, it's going to be uncomfortable again and again. And you have to overcome that discomfort again and again. That's the process of growth, and it's okay. And I want you to think about the big thing you want to achieve, whatever that big thing is, that person you want to be in 10 years, because I know you can do it. Because, Nicolas Cage can keep getting work. Well, you can do anything. Give me one final LOL if you like that one. And I'll put up some stuff. I do have another webinar coming up on December 9th about purpose in our work. And I've got a bunch of stuff I'm going to put in the chat for you, some different links for you to grab onto. And from there, I will go back. If you want slides, if you have questions, drop them in the chat. And we've got, just a couple of minutes left. So if you need to step out because you're going back to work, I totally understand. Here are some cool resources for you, including access to my book, those sort of things. Will you get a copy of the slides? I don't give out copies of my slides. I'm sorry. It's intellectual property, so I protect that. But there will be a recording of the session. So in theory, you could screenshot every single slide, but that sounds exhausting to me. And Lacey, I think you said something down here, but it's not showing up in the chat for some reason. Chat, Q&A, chat. Lacey, I just see an empty bar down there. If you wrote something in there, just let me know. I'm gonna stop sharing. I want to share these again. They're not showing up as links. I'm so sorry. All right. It is now 12 o'clock on the nose. I promised this would be an hour long. We made it to an hour long on the nose. Pretty good. If you have questions, I'm sticking around. I don't have to be anywhere for a few seconds. With that, thank you very much. I hope you have the opportunity to do this again. I'll reach out to SDAO about doing these. Again, please use that QR code to get on my email list. I would love for you to stay connected with me. Tons of free stuff to come out there. And of course, I would love to support you and your team, wherever that may be. I see the thank yous coming through in the chat. I see some thumbs up emojis coming across the screen. Thank you very much for that. I'm sorry, whatever I pasted in the chat is not coming through as hyperlinks. Let me get out of here. I want to go over here. Let me try that again. Oh, I got a peace sign from someone. That's nice. Hope that wasn't digital voting again. Like, oh, you give me a 2. Well, it's not coming through as links. I'll drop my email in the chat here, and if you have any questions, you can follow up with me. And I owe, I think, Jessica a book. No, Allison. I owe Allison a book. I don't see any questions coming through. Oh, there's Allison. She emailed me already. Okay. Great. Well, I don't see any questions coming through. I'll stick around for a minute more too, but otherwise you are free to go on with the rest of your day. Thank you so much for being here. If you have, please give me a feedback on that QR code. We'd love to hear what you thought about today's session, and look out for future sessions as well. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks for the hard work you do. Love living in Oregon. I hope you feel the same way. Thank you, Sean, for the comment. I appreciate it. All right. I don't see any questions coming through. I'm going to close this thing out. Hopefully I'll see some of you tomorrow. And if not tomorrow, hopefully I'll see you all on December 9th for our next program on purpose. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.